All right guys, welcome back. I've been wanting to do this video for a long time, so we're gonna give it a shot today. This is gonna be a beginner's guide to GSPro that is really aimed at a brand new user to GSPro, maybe even before you've bought the software, to just give you what you need to get the software up and running to be able to play a game and practice in it. Hopefully not too much to confuse anybody. You can always go deeper on your own, and I'll possibly do a more advanced guide to GSPro in the future. But what we're looking to do is really just get the software purchased correctly, how to open it and make sure that your launch monitor is connected correctly, how the course play works, so that you know what you're doing, and how the practice works. So let's go ahead and jump into it, and hopefully I can help you guys out. Okay, so we are gonna go to the website gsprogolf.com. One thing real quick, if you click on FAQ, down here you can see what are the minimum and recommended system requirements. This is gonna tell you what you need in terms of a computer to use GSPro. You've got your minimum for 1080p resolution. You've got recommended for 1080p and recommended for 4K. You've got basically a hard drive space recommendation, your GPU recommendation, and your RAM recommendation. You can always go above and beyond, like I have for 4K. I am using an NVIDIA RTX 4080 Super GPU, mainly because I want to have no problems with 4K while I'm doing screen recordings and everything for YouTube, plus playing. I've just got a lot of different stuff running at the same time. So you can go with this recommendation or you can bump it up. And we're also going to talk about some ways to get a little bit more out of what hardware you have when we get to running GSPro. But if we just go back, you can click Buy Now, and you can see it's a $250 a year subscription. Down here at Buy Subscription, you're gonna wanna choose the launch monitor that you plan on using. Obviously, these are all the different brands that connect, and almost everything does nowadays. There's a couple of caveats that I want to talk about. First one is OpenAPI. So you can see all these launch monitor brands. If you don't see your brand, you probably are gonna choose the other or OpenAPI version. And what that OpenAPI does is allows kind of user-created connections to make other launch monitors work. Nowadays, almost everything has an official connection, but the first thing that comes to mind is like SkyTrack. SkyTrack can use the OpenAPI. You're gonna have to do some research and make sure you know how that's gonna work, because like I said, it's not an officially supported option, so you can't really ask SkyTrack for help, and GSPro can't really help you either. But there are ways to do it, and you can look into that on your own. Everything else, you're just gonna choose the launch monitor brand that you have. The other caveat that I wanted to point out is the Foresight Bushnell option. If you have any of those, it's going to automatically forward you to the Foresight Sports website, and you have to buy your GSPro subscription there. That's why I wanted to point this out, because this is a little bit different. And what the reason that is because Foresight or Bushnell requires that you either own a license to their software, the FSX software, or a subscription to it if you're using Bushnell Launch Pro or the Foresight GC3S that uses subscription. You are gonna have to put in your serial number or license key for that stuff and buy it from Foresight Sports. Now, I have heard that that takes sometimes a couple of days, especially if you buy it on the weekend, so plan for that. I believe some actual person actually does verify your subscription and then moves it forward. So just keep that in mind if you are a Foresight or Bushnell user. Assuming you do that, you're going to choose the launch monitor that you have, pay for your subscription, and from that point on, you'll be emailed a license key and a link to download GSPro with instructions. So you're gonna wanna follow that and get it downloaded onto your computer. Now, once you have it downloaded, you should have an icon on your desktop right here that says GSPro Launcher. If you double click that, it will start the launch process. It's going to check for any updates and automatically update on its own if it needs it. And then you're gonna get this little configuration window. Now, you may be able to go into like your program files on your computer or something and directly launch GSPro without using this launcher. But generally you don't wanna do that, because this is how you receive updates. And it's just recommended to use this launcher icon that should be automatically on your desktop when you install it. Now, if it is your first time, you're going to be asked to put in your license key, and but obviously it's not mine. So Here we have this configuration window. You can choose your screen resolution. So if you open that up, these are all the different resolutions that are available for the displays on my computer. 2880 by 2160 is what I use for my impact screen because I have a 4:3 aspect ratio instead of the full 4K. Then you've got graphics quality. Mine is set to ultra, but you can see there's a lot of different options there. You've got very high, high, medium, low, and GSPro light. So this is what I was talking about. If your computer does not have the exact recommended specs, you probably won't be able to use ultra, but you can kind of go down the line until you get the performance that you want, as low as medium, low, or even GSPro light. And really, there's a pretty good range of hardware that you can use all the way down to GSPro light. So keep that in mind if you're having some issues with lag or anything like that. Maybe restart and start trying some of these lower graphic quality options. And I can say that like the difference between ultra and very high is very, very minimal. It's pretty much hard to tell the difference. When you get from like a wider range from ultra down to medium or low, you're probably gonna be able to notice a difference. But if you don't have the recommended specs for 1080 or for 4K, try some of these lower settings and you can still play and enjoy. And then select monitor. I've got two monitors. I've got the monitor right in front of me for my computer. And then the display number 2 right is my BenQ projector that is displaying on my impact screen. So I want it to display on my impact screen, so I've got display to connect or selected. If I wanted to play GSPro on my computer monitor right here, I would choose display 1, but we don't want to do that. And then you've got an option right here to check for windowed. That would open GSPro in a window. I don't want that. I want it in full screen, so I'm just going to uncheck that and leave it there. And everything that you select, the next time you open GSPro, it's going to open the same way. That's what we got. Now we just hit play, and GSPro is going to start loading on my impact screen. And we've gone into the main menu. Now, before I get started here, I want to talk about something that is often missed, like so often, and you're going to not be able to connect your launch monitor to GSPro if you do this wrong. It really throws a lot of people off. So what's going to happen is GSPro opens the main screen, which you just saw, and then it's going to open this window that I call the connection window, which is this window right here in front of me. And this window connects to your launch monitor and keeps that connection between the game and the launch monitor. So this window has to stay open while you're playing. Some people close it and then their launch monitor's not working and they don't understand why. It's because of that. Right now, it is set for ProTee VX. That's the launch monitor that I'm using. But for some reason, if you've got the wrong window up or you accidentally close it or you need to reset it or something, you can do that without restarting the game. Let's say I have the wrong window up. All of them do have some kind of button on here that says clear settings or something like that. So I'm going to hit clear settings and it's going to close. And then I'm going to go back to the game screen, and in settings, system, we've got a button here that says reset GSPro Connect. I'm going to click that and it's going to reset that window. And back on my other monitor, here's that window. And this is probably what you're going to see when you first open the system, maybe. You can see I've got all of these different options here. You won't have that many. You'll have the launch monitor that you selected whenever you bought GSPro. So if that was Flight Scope, you might see Flight Scope and Simple Control or Open Control Legacy. You don't need those. You want to connect to Flight Scope or whichever launch monitor it is that you are using and paid for. So if I click that Flight Scope button, the Flight Scope connector will open. But let's say that for some reason, you don't see your option on there. Let's say, maybe you bought it for Flight Scope, but you ended up not buying a Flight Scope, you ended up buying a Uneekor. So you got the wrong thing. Well, you can hit this button that says change license type, and it's going to open to a GSPro license conversion tool. So it's going to open to this website that is going to allow you to convert your license to what you need. So you put in your license key here and click what do you want to switch to and choose the correct one and click convert license, and that'll do it for you automatically. You don't have to contact support. Okay, so I do want my ProTee VX to work here, so that's what I'm going to choose, and it's going to reopen this ProTee VX window. It connected for me automatically, but if it doesn't automatically, I'm gonna have to go into my ProTee software and reconnect it. So I'll just do that real fast. GSPro, connect, and there we go. We've got the green light here, which means that we're now connected to GSPro. It may be different depending on the launch monitor that you have, if you have to go into their software or not. The point is, you need this connection window to stay open, and you need to make sure it's connected to your launch monitor, or else GSPro is not going to work for you. All right, so here we are in the main menu. Obviously, we've got some main things here. We've got local match, which is going to be how you're going to set up and play a round in your golf simulator. You've got practice, which we're going to go into and show some options. We've got challenges, which we'll probably not cover in this video. Sim golf tournaments, that's for the simulator golf tour if you're going to play in tournaments. Again, probably not going to cover. And online match, which is how you connect and play somebody over the internet. Again, probably not going to cover. So maybe in future videos, but let's go into local match. So first thing it's going to ask you to do is select a course, and down here on the left are all of your options, but you want to take a look at the filters. So right now the course library installed is highlighted. So that means the courses here that I'm seeing are only the ones that I have downloaded and installed here. If I want to see all of the available courses, I can click on all courses, and now I've got over 1,000 different courses that I can search through and download if I want. Once you download it, then it will be available in installed, and you'll also have a play button instead of a download button. You can favorite courses by hitting the star button here, and then you can hit your favorites filter, and here are all of my favorites. You can see how all of the stars are blue because I have starred them. I'm not going to go over all of the different filters, but just be very aware of the filter that you have selected, because often people will go on here and don't realize that they have installed selected and they haven't downloaded anything, and they're like, where are all these courses? You have to click all courses for them to show up. When you're on all courses, you can look at par threes, beginner, fantasy, tropical, coastal, mountain courses, however you want to filter. You can also filter by popularity. So this is probably the number of installs that everything has. Whispering Pines probably has the most because I think it was the original, and Georgia Golf Club because it's the most famous course in the world probably, at least one of the two, and go on. So just be aware of these filters. Now I'm in all courses. You can search by name for different courses. You can also search by location. You can see all of the Texas courses here. You can search by designer name. So search for your favorite course designer and see everything that they have there. Now, if you want to have a different way to search for courses, you can go to simulatorgolftour.com, and this is the tournament version for GSPro. If you want to play tournaments, you have to join the Simulator Golf Tour. Again, that's a whole nother video. But whether you join or not, you can use their course search. So go to their website, go to courses, go to list, and here you've got a map search. And this has all of the courses in GSPro. You can zoom in here and find, the course that you might be looking for. Just click on this one, Greystone. So you can search by the map. You can search here in the bar. And when you pull up a course, you can get some more info. You can see the course records. You can see the scorecard, and you can see it on the map there. So if you are looking for any famous golf courses that might be listed under another name and you're not sure where, come over here and look at the map. Where in the world is that course? Zoom in, and you will probably find it by a different name. All right, so let's find a course to open up and figure out how to play. I'm in my favorites. I'm going to open up Paynes Valley, click on it. It's one of my favorite of all time, and I'm going to click play course. Now, this is where you add players. You can see here I am. I can change tees here if you want to change it by player, but just leave it at match settings tees, and we will set the tees for the match on the next screen. And if I click here, I can choose a team color. That only matters if you're playing with more people. If I wanted to add a player, I can just click a plus button. I've got another player here, Dylan, that I've added in here before. You can see automatically has a different color. That comes into play if we are playing on different teams. And if I wanted to set him to specific tees, we could do that here. Just always leave it as match settings tees if we're playing the same tees. So that would be if we were having 2 different players here. We would go to the next screen, which is match settings. This is how you set up the round. We've got stroke play, scramble, match play, alternate shot, best ball, Stableford, and shamble. That's self-explanatory. These are the match setting tees. So if I was playing, green tees, that would just be where we play everybody, unless individual players, like on the last screen, select different tees. We've got Thursday through Sunday pin positions. And here we've got the gimme/auto putt setting. All of these numbers are the size of the gimme circle. The gimme circle is what it sounds like. If your ball lands within the gimme circle, it's an automatic 1 putt from there. I generally play with either 5 or 6 foot gimme circles. You can go as small as 2 and as large as 20. Below that, then you've got some other options. You've got auto putt fixed, which is going to give you a gimme circle and a 2-putt circle, and then anything outside of that on the green is going to be an automatic 3-putt. Auto putt random, where it randomly chooses the number of putts. Pick your putt. You can enter how many putts you want it to give you. If you land on the green, you can put in 1 putt, 2 putt, 3 putt, whatever. And then auto putt fixed with chip. And so if you maybe have a launch monitor that doesn't work well with chipping, especially really close chips, you can select that and it will kind of auto chip for you as well. It doesn't actually do it, but it gives you that score for the chip. So those options are there for you. Auto putt fixed is probably the most common if you're not putting out with a gimme circle. You can turn mulligans on and off. Green firmness, you have some different options. Fairway firmness, the same. Elevation, you can use the course elevation or you can use your global elevation, which is what I've set in the system to 0 because I'm at sea level where I'm at. So I can either choose to play with whatever the elevation of the actual course is or here at sea level. We've got a stemp speed for the greens. I find that to be very accurate. We can turn on our wind. These are our wind options. I think that's enough of these settings. I don't want to go through everything, but really you don't need to mess with anything else. Just set up the match here. We can go into more detail maybe in another video, but that's all you need. Choose your game type, your tee boxes, your pins, how you want to putt, and course firmness and stemp speed. Wind, you're good to go. Next one, click holes. We can choose to play the front 9, the back 9, or just choose to uncheck and check certain holes that we want to play. If you want to play all 18, then just leave it all checked. We're going to click play Paynes Valley and the course is going to load. Okay, and here we are on the first tee at Paynes Valley. So I want to point out some things before we get started here. The first is going to be your offset. And so in your golf simulator, if your hitting strip or your tee is not perfectly centered with the center of the screen, it's probably offset to one side because you don't have enough width in your space to hit from the center. For example, here, like where I'm standing right here, this would be the center into my screen. So I would have to hit from back here. I don't have the space for that. My hitting strip is maybe just under 2 feet to the right of center. So that means I am hitting straight at the screen. If I hit a perfectly straight shot, my golf ball is going to hit the screen about 2 feet right of center. So in order to have the image match up with that, you want to adjust your offset if this situation is like yours. So in order to do that, there's a couple ways to do that. The first one I'll show you is the easiest. And what we can do is hit the L key, and that brings up basically L for lighting. Different things you can do to adjust the sky, the light, all of that. You can play with that if you want. But at the bottom here, you see offset editor. And you can see offset enabled is checked. And we've got 2 options for a left-handed player and a right-handed player. I don't have any left-handed players. So what you can do is use this slider to adjust the offset until it looks right. That matches up. I think that's about where it was at. If you don't see that, you can click the toggle advanced button. Actually, it's still there even on the basic, but that's why it might look different. Click toggle advanced again. So you can visually match that up if you want. The other way to do it, which I prefer because I'm a little bit picky, but you can go into settings and go into visual settings and then offset. And you can enter in your screen width and put in the offset. Here I have it for right-handed players in millimeters. So I can take the exact center of my screen and measure over how much offset I have enter that here into this setting in millimeters. That's 720 millimeters. And you can do it that way if you want to be specific about it. Now, you do have an option here for putting offset as well, and you can enter that in if you putt from a different place than you hit the ball from. So in my case, I'll show you. You can see this ball right here is in the middle of my hitting strip. That's where I would hit the ball from, but I like to putt just off of the hitting strip, which is about right there, because that is smoother than the actual hitting strip itself. So you can put in a different offset for putting if you do the same. Another question is all these data tiles. So if I hit a golf ball, we'll see data filled in there. Let me just do that so we have some numbers. Okay, so you can see we've got all our numbers there. But you might say, well, it's missing something, or I don't want it something else. You can adjust these data tiles by just clicking on them. So I'm gonna click on them and it brings this up. You can check and uncheck what you want. And if you want a different order, you can just grab it and move them around until you get the order that you want. So what you're seeing here are the options that are available. Now, keep in mind, you may see options here that are available in GSPro, but your launch monitor has to provide that data in order for it to show up to GSPro. GSPro doesn't do any of that stuff. It all comes from your launch monitor. Now, I'll just point this out because we're here now. You can see that I have carry game and carry raw both in here. And so this is actually a good example. I'm gonna close this and you can see here they are right here. Carry game 189, carry raw 147. So the carry in the game is how far the ball actually carried in the game, 189 yards. But that also is affected by the wind in the game, the elevation, the slope, all of those things. The carry raw is the number that would show up on my launch monitor. So that's how far I hit the ball in real life. So I hit it 147, but because that tee shot was way downhill, it actually carried 189. If there had been wind on, the wind is at 0, that would have affected the carry game, but not the carry raw. Now, when we go into practice, you're gonna see that we have options for more data tiles. They'll actually go over here on the left-hand side as well, so you can have twice as many. But when you're playing, you can have a maximum of 12, so that's why you see that there. Okay, so here are a couple things that you should know. If I hit the tab key, this will bring up all the keyboard shortcuts. This comes in really handy. You can definitely study that in your own time, but I'm gonna show you just a few that I use all the time. They're probably the most common ones. Hit tab again for that to go away. Number one, especially on approach shots, is the J key. And this is what that does. It zooms in. If it's an approach shot, it'll zoom into the pin. We've got 222 yards, and then I can use the arrow keys to go down, right, up, and if I wanted to aim at the center of the green to land just a little bit short, I'd go like that, and then I hit J again, and even though it doesn't show it, it kept my aim right there where J was. So it said 216 yards, and it was a little bit to the right of the pin. Now you can do another one if I hit J again. You don't have to hit J for this, but it helps to zoom in on the green. Now I'll hit the Y key. Y turns on heat map for greens, and you can see the red portion is the highest part of the green, and if we get any blue, that's the lowest portion of the green. So I can see that this really goes left to right, almost a little bit front to back, so that can obviously affect where you might want to aim. So I can hit Y again to turn that off, hit the J key to go back to my ball. I use those quite a bit. Now you do see the mini map down here. That's another way that you can aim, just by using the mouse to click, and I can hold the mouse button down and drag around, and I can see my distance and my slope and really choose that. Mini map is how I aim my tee shots. I just think that makes sense. And if I hit the S key, that will expand the mini map. So you'll see me do that all the time just to make it bigger, and I can really go in here and choose if I want a bird's eye view of where to aim. I can hit the Y key for the heat map and see it on the mini map as well. So you can do all that. Just hit everything again to turn it off. The last one I'll show you that is used a lot is O, and that is for flyover. So if I hit O, it's gonna do a flyover of the hole. Kind of helpful on the tee box if you want to see, a flyover of the hole before you hit. But yeah, looks good. Another thing that you're going to need to know are lies. And the way that you tell what kind of lie you have is also down here in the mini map. I will expand it just to make it easier to see. But at the top, you can see fairway. So that means I have a fairway lie. There's also some options for other types of lie, like rough and sand and all kinds of things. I'm going to show you that later in the video. But down here, you can see we've got 3 degrees down and 1.5 degrees right. And so that will affect how the ball plays. 3 degrees down means it's going to have a lower launch angle, probably a lower ball flight, and 1.5 degrees right means basically the ball is below your feet. That's what it would mean in real life. But that means the ball is going to take off more right than center. So if I hit a dead straight shot, it should still start right, like it would in real life if the ball was below your feet. Got 1.5 degrees kind of hanging lie. So you need to look at this, your lie, before you hit your shot. What type of lie is it, and is it up or down, left or right? Now, one other thing here, you can see I've got 223 yards to the hole on this shot, and then I've got 8 yards here with a little down arrow. That means the hole is 8 yards below me. If it was an up arrow, obviously it would be 8 yards uphill. Pretty much the same rules apply as in real life. This is 8 yards downhill, so I'm pretty much just going to subtract 8 from 223 and get 215. Among other factors like wind, course elevation, and all of that, aside from all of that, a 215-yard shot should carry about 223. That's how I do it. If it was uphill, then I would add the 8 and it would be playing like 231. I think that's how most people do it, but these are things to keep in mind when you're playing. Okay, you can see now we are on the green. We've got an 8-foot putt. You can see this blue circle here is the gimme circle. So if my ball would have come to rest inside the gimme circle, it would have been good for a 1 putt, but because I'm outside the gimme circle, I have to putt it. Now you can see that I've got a green grid on, and obviously I've got these little balls, beads, whatever they are, that are showing me that this is a right to left breaking putt. Then I've got the distance in feet, and I see that I've got 1 inch uphill. And so you can do this different ways. You can use the mouse and drag this around, and wherever you leave it is where you're going to aim. You can just click, and wherever you click is where it's going to aim. You can see at the bottom of this stick there's a little line that kind of moves as I'm doing that. That's the break line indicator. So you can drag this around and see where that line moves to. It indicates the break. I really don't do all that. I just use the arrow key and I move my aiming stick a little bit to the right, and I'm just kind of guessing about how much break to play. Now I can see that it's an 8-foot putt and it's 1 inch uphill. I always do the same, and I add 1 inch to 8 feet, or a foot for every inch. So that would play like 9 feet because it's an inch uphill. If it was an inch downhill, it'd play like 7 feet. Again, you do that however you want, but these are just tips. Now, if I accidentally click somewhere, like over here, I'm like, oh, that's a mistake. I can hit the A button, A key, and it centers my aim back on the hole. You can do that at any time on the course, and it will recenter your aim. So that's pretty much it with putting. Okay, so that was the basics of playing a course. Let's go out of this and go into the driving range, and we can talk about practice. Going back to the main menu, hitting practice, and I've got the practice range and I've got on-course practice. We're going to cover both, but let's start with practice range. Okay, so here we are on the driving range. You can see now I've got 2 sets of data tiles here. I've got a left side that I can add things to, move them around, and I've got a right side that I can add things to because now we are in practice mode. We do have a mini map here. We're going to hit some shots. You're going to see that. We can expand that as well. But the main thing, I want to keep this simple. Let's just focus on the basics. Driving range distance, you can see 429 yards. I can drag this slider at the top all the way close to me. Closest is 22 yards. And you can see I've got a little green here now. So that green is there all the time. It's just by default 400 something yards away, but you can adjust it there. You can hit to that green. Let me just hit a couple of shots. There's one shot. Keep an eye on the mini map there. Now you see that ball out there. I'll hit another one. No, you don't see that ball. But if you expand the mini map, now you see that was my first ball there, the white one. They're both white, and then the second one there. So your shots are visible there. You can go over here, hit this little color palette, keep clicking it to change the color. So let's say that those white balls were one club. I'm switching clubs now and I want to see what the difference is. I switch the color to orange and hit another shot. Now this ball, when it lands, there's my orange ball. So you can kind of track your dispersion there if you want using that stuff. That's the basic driving range. If I click the expand button, again, we can change the driving range width. So we can make the driving range wider, narrower. We can change the size of the green, make it wider or bigger, smaller. It's basically just a circle. And we can adjust the distance again from here. We can turn a randomizer on or off that adjusts where the green is randomly with a maximum distance. Again, we can go into the ladder. I'm not going to do that. Just trying to show you the basics. We can go into dynamic holes. This is one of the coolest features. It's relatively new. A lot of this driving range is relatively new, but you can basically build a hole that you want to hit to. So you can change your green type, scroll through these different types of greens, and you can have it be a solid green, an island green, a peninsula, back and forth. I think obviously the island is the coolest, and you can rotate it around and obviously change the distance. So you've got all these different options and you can build a hole that you want to practice and hit to. Then we've got the playground. This is what it sounds like. It's just a giant kind of fun place to practice at. You can aim for all these different greens. And I haven't shown you this. We was going to show it on course practice, but it comes into play here. Up here in the top left menu, you've got the golf ball. If you click on that, you can drop this golf ball anywhere and play from there. So I dropped it right next to this green. Now I can hit here, stand here and hit this little chip to this green. If I don't like that, maybe I'm a little bit too close, I can grab it, use the mini map and drop it behind me on the mini map. Okay, now I'm 34 yards. That's cool. So you just click that golf ball and then click again where you want to drop it. Now you can also use the ball location thing here in the playground to just click the left or right arrows to move around where you want the ball. Same with changing the green you're pointed at. That's built into the playground. That's the basics of the driving range. Let's go into on-course practice. I'm going to exit out of here, go to the menu, in round, confirm. All right, so we're going to go back into practice and go into on-course practice. Now, this is going to look the same as if we're setting up a round. We'll go to Payne's Valley again to keep it consistent. And we're going through all the same stuff here. Stroke play, stem speed, gimme circle. All of this is generally the same, right? You can choose certain holes or you can leave all of them. We're going to leave all of them, click play, and load the course again. Okay, so here we are. We're on the first tee, and you can go ahead and hit. I'll show you what happens. This kind of throws a lot of people off because they accidentally go into on-course practice thinking they are playing around, and this is what happens. Hit a little shot out there. Say, okay, I'm in the fairway. And then, oh no, I'm back on the tee box. What happened? Well, you're in on-course practice mode. If you're trying to play around, you need to close out of this and go into local match. But that's what happens in on-course practice. You're just going to repeat the same shot over and over again. So what you can do is go to any hole on any golf course, click that golf ball up here in the menu, and use the mini map or the screen and just drop it anywhere you would like. So I'm down here in the mini map. I'll drop it here. And now I've got this shot from the fairway into an approach shot. And I can sit here and hit this 138-yard shot over and over as much as I want, or I can change it up. I can go green side. I can drop it on the green and putt. I can drop it in these bunkers and practice from there. And again, you can do this on any hole, on any course. Now, you've got some stuff up here in the menu. You can click this little flag here and skip to different holes if you would like we'll go to number 2. Now we're on the tee box at number 2. You can also use the 9 and 0 keys to toggle between holes as well. So 0 moves me a hole forward and 9 moves me a hole back. So that's a little bit faster for me. And you can just skip through the course this way, which is what I prefer to do. Now there's one more thing I'm going to show you. Another way to use on-course practice if you would like. Here I am on hole number 6 and I'm on a tee shot. So I hit one out there into the fairway. And when it stops, it's going to throw me back on the tee box like we already covered. But I do have the option of playing that ball where it landed if I hit the 8 key. So I hit number 8 and there I am where that ball landed. So that's another option if you want to go through on-course practice and kind of hit 8 as you go. But if you hit a bad shot, just keep hitting it until you hit a good one, hit 8, and then continue. While we're in on-course practice, let's go back to the lie penalties, because now it's easier for me to show you. Again, here I am in the fairway. It says fairway on the mini map. But if I wanted to show you that I'm in the rough, I'm going to grab the golf ball again, which we know is how we move the ball. And I'm going to the mini map and I'm just going to drop it in the rough here between these bunkers. Now the mini map says that I'm in the rough. I've got a 158-yard shot. My lie is almost 5 degrees downhill and 1.3 degrees to the left. The rough does have an effect on your ball. It can be anywhere from taking 5 yards to 12 or more yards off of your distance, depending on the club that you're hitting and all kinds of other factors. So the more you play, the more you will learn how the different lies affect you. But I do need to demonstrate what happens. So this is going to go nowhere near the hole. I just need to hit any shot. Okay. So we hit that shot out of the rough, and now you'll see towards the bottom right, we've got a little window that popped up and it says last shot, and it shows 93% speed, 81% spin. That tells you after the fact what effect the rough had on that shot. So I got 93% of the normal speed that I would have gotten, and I got only 81% of the spin that I should have gotten. So again, the lie will be another reason that the carry game and carry raw numbers are going to be different. We've got all types of lie. You're obviously going to be in a rough. I'll drop the ball into the sand. Now it says sand. Sand is going to have a different effect than rough. We'll see if we can go over here into the bad stuff. We've got leaves. That's not a real common one, I don't think. Now I moved in here in this tall grass and it's deep rough. Deep rough, the ball is going to go not near as far as it would normally. So you can even be on the cart path and it'll say concrete, all kinds of different lies. And you don't know what it's going to do, except from experience, until after you hit the shot, and then you get this little last shot window and it tells you after the fact. So that's kind of how you can learn and see what effect different lies have on the ball. All right, guys, I think that's going to wrap up this video. Again, this was aimed at a brand new user to GSPro, just to get you up and running, playing around and practicing in the software. Obviously, you can go much, much deeper with a bunch of other features and settings, which maybe we'll cover in the future. If you want me to cover that, leave a comment down below. Definitely like and subscribe the video. It actually does help. I appreciate it. And see you in the next one. Thanks, guys.